I am going to tell you the truth about myself, and that is that I have never dated or had sexual relations with a woman of a more mature age. On the other hand, I do have the benefit of having previous experience living with more experienced women. To begin, the vast majority of them are unpleasant people to be around, and the general pessimism that they exude may be attributed to the fact that they have been actively destroying their lives ever since they were young. One of the numerous unfavorable characteristics that are linked to these individuals is the fact that they continually complain and whine about everything. They are utterly unreliable in every way. To put it another way, the fact that I've had to put up with living with older women is really unbelievable. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is observe older men who are married and tell me whether or not they don't look like soulless husks. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is look at older ladies who are content in their marriages. It would appear that some of these men are keeping track of the minutes until they may finally free themselves from their wives by taking their own lives. When I observe young and middle-aged men attracted to older women, I can't help but wonder if these men are going through a difficult time or if they are simply oblivious to the trap they are walking into. My best opinion is that they either have some sort of sexual fascination with older women or are in such dire financial straits that they can't afford to date anyone younger. However, it is simply how I feel. Let's examine the reasons why it is socially unacceptable for men in today's culture to avoid dating leftover women. To begin, it is customary for men to take main responsibility for the well-being of their female counterparts. It shouldn't come as a surprise to you that the people who are closest to you want to make sure that women are protected and content in the relationships they have. And not just at the expense of men, the government is well aware that women need support, and the present student loan rescue program is a perfect illustration of this awareness. That serves as a powerful illustration of the fact that women know of how strong and self-reliant they may appear to be on the outside, simply cannot succeed without assistance. The fact that these particular women are dependent on others does not, however, force society to stigmatize or condemn them in any way. It is for this reason that the concept that 45 is the new 25 and that older women may still look beautiful is so widely held. Without it, they run the risk of being homeless and more dependent on the welfare system. Because doing so would quickly deplete funds for Social Security and other programs created to support those in need in the United States, the federal government is cautious to help these people because doing so would have a negative impact on such programs. When one of them is in a financially difficult situation and is alone herself, the other women in her social circle will likely lobby guys on her behalf, given that there are more women than there are men. This is because there are more women than there are men. The question now is, what do? They humiliate him because he wants to date women in their late teens and 20s, and they try to stop and control him by labeling him with various isms and files. The reason for this is that he wants to date women in their late teens and 20s. Nevertheless, it is essential to emphasize that society as a whole applauds older women who date younger men and encourages them to continue doing so. This is something that should be emphasized. Even though it is common awareness that this is not the appropriate behavior for a lady, the fact of the matter is that this is how things are, unless the lady in question is extremely wealthy. Because of the general tendency of women to be poor with money, you should make preparations to provide financial support to her when she becomes older. Men will always feel driven to pursue romantic relationships with women because women can always look younger than they actually are. You women who are left should keep in mind that older men are the ones in society who have the money and resources, and if all the single older men with money decide to go out and date younger women, you should keep in mind this fact. How would it be possible to support everyone who has just gone through a divorce if young men only dated younger women? Whether they are women who have been out of the workforce for some time and are now returning to it, or the many self-proclaimed strong and independent women who have never made relationships a priority and are now finding romantic success elusive, issues of financial stability and partner availability are at the heart of the plight of today's single women. If you break it down to its barest essentials, issues of financial stability and partner availability are at the heart of the plight of today's single women. There are already not enough males in the United States to go around, and the number of men who are available to date would decrease even further if more men dated younger women. This is due to the fact that there are now insufficient numbers of men in the United States to appropriately provide for each and every one of the country's women. They have found that shaming men into staying away from a market that is saturated with younger women is an efficient way to achieve their goal of increasing the proportion of available males in the population. The goal is to increase the proportion of males in the population who are not in committed relationships. As a result of this, people will make statements to the effect that she's young enough to be your daughter, or you're a pervert for wanting that young 22-year-old woman, you're a metaphase and a grapeist. It's very conceivable for one to hold both of these points of view. Dating a lady who is significantly younger than you is the pinnacle of social isolation, so why on earth would you want to put yourself through that? She just has one goal in mind, and that is to take advantage of you financially, as if this were something that only some women, or only some older women, are capable of doing. The ultimate purpose of the people around you who are saying these things to you is to prevent you from meeting young females so that they may use you as a cleanup man for their leftover 304s. In case you were wondering, men are put on the spot if they don't date leftover ladies, as if doing so will convince them that the women in question are no longer appealing if they don't date them. If men were aware of what they were getting themselves into, they would never settle for women who were less than ideal. Despite the illusion of value that is promoted by society, men who are willing to settle for less than ideal women are destined to end up with the least desirable of these women in their lives. If the perception that older women have no place in modern society is allowed to persist, then younger women will inevitably find themselves courted by older men. How can it be considered a victory if other men got them when they were at the height of their powers while you got her when she was on the decline? When she was looking her absolute best, other men couldn't resist snatching her up. Is it a true accomplishment that you are acquiring the version of this woman who requires Botox and makeup to look presentable after she has raised the price of how much she needs each month to keep herself? She needs them to seem presentable while you are getting the version of her that you are getting. While you are getting her, she needs them to look presentable. Do you see what I mean when I say that other men have purchased her for a lower price when she was younger and her value was higher? Some of them already have children by other men, and depending on how old those children are or whether or not the children's mother still lives with them, you may be required to help out with the upkeep of those children.